Where is the love? It's a simple question, but it is one that has informed my life experience in this world for some time now. Several years ago, I set the religious status on my Facebook profile as love and the pursuit of truth. I believed that love was the most important principle that we should prize and live by, and I still truly believe that. In a powerful homily in late 2013, Pope Francis, describing what he called the globalization of indifference, said the following: "We are accustomed to the suffering of others. It doesn't concern us. It's none of our business. We are a society that has forgotten the experience of weeping, of suffering with." Suffering makes us soulful. And a place like the Gaza Strip in Palestine has real soul. When the blood of children in the Middle East is spilled, it doesn't really bother us. It doesn't really bother us. It doesn't disturb us anymore. In November 2012, while I was in Gaza, there was a war between Israel and Palestinian militant groups. During its 8-day bombing campaign, Israel killed, among others, 35 Palestinian children. All of these deaths were regarded by Israel as collateral damage. And these killings took place within 30 minutes' drive of my apartment in Gaza. The kind of world in which this happens is not the kind of world in which I want to live, or that I want my children to inherit. If I had been related by blood to any of those slain Palestinian children, no military excuse, no geopolitical explanation could quash my grief or rage. I'm often asked the question, what got you interested in Gaza? How did you make the decision to go to Gaza? Why do you still want to go to Gaza? The answer is simple. It's love. And it's true that the most useful asset a person has is not a head full of knowledge, but a heart full of love. And I stand here before you today, yearning to go back to a place in which I was not born and which is not exactly my home: Gaza, Palestine. To many people, it's a conflict zone, a war zone. But to almost 2 million Palestinians, it is home. I vividly remember one time while I was leaving Gaza for Egypt. Unable to hold back the tears, I wept in the taxi to the border. They were tears of grief, of mourning for the loss of life, of attachment to a place that had become my heart's new home. There were also tears of fear for the impending discombobulation of my body leaving the Gaza ghetto for the outside world, with my heart still inside Gaza. Now, I don't believe that everyone in this world has the destiny to love Gaza or its cause, but a lot of people that are touched by its insights do. My love for Gaza started back in 2011. On my mind and on my heart, I once slept the night in Gaza, although physically at home in my bed in Oxford, listening to a live video stream from someone's window somewhere in the Strip. I listened as Israel's Apache helicopters flew over. I heard Israel's helicopters fire. I don't know at what or at whom. I just wanted to be there, to be as involved as I could. And the injustice was becoming personal. I posted online something like, "None of us have a right to rest until this illegal and immoral siege on Gaza is broken." Objectively speaking, one could say the radical in me was speaking out. But subjectively speaking, I must ask, in our modern democracy, should it really be radical to care? Now, most people wouldn't associate the Gaza Strip with love. But I love the beautiful place, its beautiful spirit, its beautiful people. I'm not romanticizing the place, and I'm certainly not the only one who finds the place exceptional on levels that are difficult to describe. The following line is attributed to Palestinian poet Ibrahim Nasrallah. Despite all these years under occupation, we are still beautiful, as if we live over occupation, not under it. Gaza is not just a place or a people or a culture. To millions of people with a cultivated love for Palestine and Gaza, Gaza represents indefatigability, defiance, resilience, steadfastness, and humanity. Gaza has an insatiable will and appetite for life. As a Palestinian friend of mine in Gaza put it, it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. At the end of conducting video interviews with Palestinians in Gaza, I've often asked the open-ended question, what is your message to Israel? Or what is your message to the Israeli leadership? And the most profound and resonating response that I ever heard was from a Palestinian man, I'm told actually he's one of the eldest men alive in Gaza, standing next to the rubble of a destroyed civil administration complex. He said with much gravity and affirmation, "My message to the Israeli leadership, whatever damage you do to us, we'll survive." My friends in Gaza wear their hearts and their souls on their sleeves, having lived through at least 2 bloody wars with Israel and decades of instability and insecurity with occupation. Many who have visited Palestine, and particularly Gaza, remark on the incredible openness and hospitality of ordinary people. My friends in Gaza, many of whom have borne witness to atrocities, are in a sense among the sweetest, warmest, most fun-loving, open, and charming people I've ever had the privilege of meeting. Their stories testify to the truism that sometimes the strongest people are the ones that fight battles that nobody knows about. With incredible and infectious faith, they teach life. They teach that when life becomes harder, you have to change yourself to become stronger. They teach that despite horrendous, man-made, humanitarian catastrophes, unshakable humanity, the force of human love overrides all. Knowing tragedy and terror brings a refreshing appreciation of the value, sanctity, sweetness, preciousness, and beauty of human life like nothing else. I make my love for Gaza clear to those who follow my work, and it's been heartwarming to see others love my love for Gaza. And in the last 2 years, I've been able to spread this love to thousands around the world. It's been my love jihad for Gaza. And it's been an honor to be part of an ongoing, quite miraculous revolution of viral love for Gaza. A revolution of awareness and dedication to Gaza's cause. It's about promoting a love for human life. It's about highlighting loss and tragedy. And it's about breaking people's hearts until they open. These words beautifully capture that love for Palestine that is defiant in quality and mass in scale. In a Palestinian refugee camp, you can find this poetic line. "O Palestine, if loving you is a crime, then let history bear witness that I am indeed a criminal for loving you." We're talking about a love for humanity. We're talking about a love for universal human rights, for life, for the sanctity of life. When we love, we feel the pain of loss, of each and every loss. When we love, we resist the enumeration of tragedy by our heads. 3 killed as troops opened fire near the Lebanese border. 6 killed in fresh airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. 18 killed in suicide attacks in Volgograd, Russia. 54 killed in ethnic violence in Guinea. 525 killed in clashes in Cairo, Egypt. The headlines go on and on and on. But when we love, we count tragedy with our hearts, not with our heads. We think of and feel not numbers, but people. As the Sufi mystic Rumi said, our greatest strength lies in the gentleness and tenderness of our heart. In most of my films in Gaza, I've tried to touch people's hearts, to allow them to feel the tragedy of losses that Gaza has suffered with occupation. Sometimes people's hearts are too rusted over. You can't move them. It's hard to understand how sometimes it appears that people, or some people, have no sense of shared humanity or conscience at all. But in other cases, you can not only successfully move people, you can profoundly affect them. A now friend of mine, Denny, had his life profoundly affected. My documentary, Killing Hamid, shows the story of Hamid Ahmed Yunus Abu Daga, a Palestinian boy who was killed playing football outside of his home. This story broke Denny's heart. Every time he watches the film, he weeps for the loss of this one innocent life. That's humanity. That's love. Now, a lot has changed for Denny since he first realized what's going on in Gaza. He first visited Gaza last summer, and his soul now lives inside Gaza. His body is back home in Santa Fe, USA. But his home is about to change, because Denny's hoping to move to Gaza. That's sacrifice. That's dedication. That's care. That's love. Denny's been totally gotten to. His attachment to Gaza, his heartfelt connection, his deep affection, his spiritual bond are totally matured. And the fight for his heart is over. It's amazing what can result from the love of a cause or place. From the USA, over the internet, every week, Denny spends hours online connecting with Palestinians, trying to understand and learn, and above all, feel the reality of Gaza, spreading information and creating awareness online. And many others, dozens, even hundreds, have also visited Gaza, having become deeply attached. They follow in the footsteps of American activist Rachel Corrie, who was killed in Gaza in 2003 by an Israeli militarized bulldozer. Love for Gaza is spread like a candle's flame. And as the Indian spiritual guru Osho said, one lighted candle can make millions of candles lighted without losing its light. We are what we allow our hearts to be, what we allow ourselves to feel. That's why in this country, street protesters for Palestine chant, in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. I've always been interested to better understand what I call the activist gene. That is, what it is about a person that makes them an activist. Suddenly, passionately preoccupied by some injustice that most of the time they don't actually endure any personal affliction from. Well, American author Eve Ensler believes that an activist is driven slightly mad by some injustice, some cruelty, some unfairness, so much so that he or she is driven, is compelled by some internal moral engine to act to make it better. I think she's right, but I also think love has something to do with it. Activism for peace and for human rights is about fighting for a world that cries, about fighting for a world with compassion, about fighting for a world with love. Activism for Palestine and Gaza is about fighting for a world that loves. Because what Palestinians are missing is justice. And as American philosopher Cornel West said, justice is what love looks like in public. How often do we act for love? With the drive of love, with the background motivation and intention of love, in the language of love. It's my thesis that love, particularly a love for humanity, that invokes an inherent compassion towards humanity, is often missing in our world outlook and in our public discourses on international affairs. Love, as a human force, has the power to change the world. Thank you.